Good afternoon. My name is Mark Hundley, and this is Live at 5 for a Friday. Um, I welcome you to this time, and usually I like to share stories or thoughts that come from my twisted little mind, but today I want to share with you a conversation that has probably been one of the most powerful and meaningful conversations I've ever witnessed in my whole life. Um, you see, I'm a strong believer that the best uh, bits of wisdom that come to us actually come to us from children's books. I really believe that good children's authors get a message that they want to share with adults, and they embed that message or those messages within the confines and the context of a good children's story. Back when I was in college, I remember at Hardin Simmons University out in Abilene in West Texas, I recall um, having the standard forced, I'm going to say forced, um, uh, mandatory chapel service. And we would all sit in the auditorium and do our homework because rarely was there anything that was very, very interesting or exciting. But I remember on one particular day, a gentleman by the name of Doug Manning came in, and he stood before us, big tall guy, and he said, "Today for my text, I'm going to be reading to you from The Velveteen Rabbit." And I caught my attention. I said, "The Velveteen Rabbit? What the heck is that?" I'd never heard of this story. If you've never heard of The Velveteen Rabbit, it was written in 1922 by Margery Williams. It is a classic children's story, but it is one of the most powerful lessons. It's chock full of lessons for adults. In fact, here's my copy. See, The Velveteen Rabbit. I've had this copy for about 44 years. I love it. What I want to do today is share with you the conversation between a horse and a rabbit that literally has changed my life and influences so many things that I do and say and work and strive to become. It's about being real. And in our world, I think we need a lot more real than we have. So, what I'm going to do today is share with you the conversation, and I want you to listen carefully to what it says. And then I want you to think over the weekend, how can I as a person become more real? Where am I in this process? Where can I do the kinds of things that I need to do to become more real? The second thing I want you to do is find a child. Find a child somewhere, either online, video conferencing. If you have the ability to have your own child next to you, sit down on the floor, crawl up on the bed, get a copy of The Velveteen Rabbit, and read it through to that child. Have fun, because I really believe that when we sit down with children, we have to take off the accoutrements of adulthood, and we have to tap into the child that's inside of us, and we then can be able to process and have the seed of that message that children's author wants us to have. So, here we go. Here's the conversation. The skin horse had lived longer in the nursery than any of the others. He was so old that his brown coat was bald in patches and showed the seams underneath, and most of the hairs in his tail had been pulled out to string bead necklaces. He was wise, for he had seen a long succession of mechanical toys arrive to boast and swagger, and by break their mainsprings and pass away. And he knew that they were only toys and would never turn into anything else. For nursery magic is very strange and wonderful, and only those playthings that are old and wise and experienced, like the skin horse, understand all about it. "What is real?" asked the rabbit one day when they were lying side by side. "Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle?" "Real isn't how you were made," said the skin horse. "It's a thing that happens to you when a child loves you for a long, long time. Then you become real." "Does it hurt?" asked the rabbit. "Sometimes," said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. "Does it happen all at once, like being wound up, or bit by bit?" "It doesn't happen all at once. It takes a long time. You become. That's why it doesn't often happen to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you're real, and I like this next part, most of your hair has been loved off, your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. "I suppose you're real," said the rabbit, and then he wished he had not said it, for he thought the skin horse might be sensitive. But the skin horse only smiled. "The boy's uncle made me real, and that was many years ago. But once you are real, you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always." Can you see why that conversation means so much to me? Can you see why it made an impression on my life? It did. Next week, what we're going to do, we're going to dissect this conversation. We're going to break down bits and pieces of the conversation. I want to share with you some insights that I've learned through the years that come from this conversation. But in the meantime, I want you to have a good weekend this weekend. I want you to go buy a copy of this if you can find a copy of it. If not, download a copy of it. Print it out in PDF form. Maybe pull yours off the bookshelf and dust it off. Find a child somewhere, even if it's the child within. Put aside the accoutrements of adulthood. Read the story and let it sink in. Thanks for joining me today. Peace.